Okay, let's unpack this. If you're out there on the road today, driving those highways, you know the feeling. That sense of freedom, it's incredible, right? Open space, being your own boss, not stuck in some cubicle. But lately, there's also this feeling of change, maybe uncertainty, market swings that feel like, I don't know, riding a bucking bronco, new tech popping up left and right, regulations changing things. Honestly, it can feel like driving through thick fog sometimes. You're just not sure what's coming up.
Yeah, it's a really complex time, no doubt about it. And that feeling, navigating that uncertainty, that's exactly what we want to tackle in this deep dive. We've got this stack of sources. You shared articles, insights, some directly from folks living it on the road. Our mission here is to take all that, cut through the noise, and figure out what's really shaping trucking right now. And most importantly, what it actually means for you
Yeah.
sitting behind the wheel.
Right. And we want to look at it from all angles, like Hervey over at Life, as the trucker talks about. Looking at the challenges, sure, but also trying to find the opportunities hiding in there. We've got stuff covering, well, everything from the ground level, how companies treat drivers, what the freight market's actually doing,
Yeah.
all the way up to government actions and, yeah, big one, autonomous tech. Where's that heading?
Exactly. And our goal, really, by the end of this, is pretty simple. We want you to walk away feeling more informed about all these shifts, maybe a bit better prepared to handle them, and fundamentally feeling respected for the crucial work you do. Plus, hopefully, point out some ways you can maybe take a bit more control of your own time, your own future.
Okay, so let's hit the road. First stop. What's happening right now? On the ground, market stuff, company culture. It's easy to get bogged down in the negative. But you shared something really interesting. This company, GP Transco, they were actually named a top workplace. That kind of jumps out.
It really does. And what's key about that GP Transco story is the recognition came from Energage. And it's heavily based on employee surveys, actual feedback. You just don't see that often. A trucking company getting that kind of nod directly from its drivers and staff. It suggests, well, they're doing something different, fundamentally different.
Right. It's not just some plaque on the wall. It's drivers saying, yeah, this place is decent.
Mm.
And the info you sent breaks down why. Things like real pay transparency. They put the structures online. Drivers see updates in real time. No guessing what you made on a trip.
Yeah, no games. And the focus on tools that actually help. A modern fleet that means less downtime, better safety rate, right? Proper maintenance schedules, smart software that's apparently designed to assist, not just, track every little thing.
Yeah.
Plus, huge points, no forced dispatch,
Mhm.
and systems to actually protect home time, making sure you can get home for important stuff.
That open door culture piece seems massive too. Management being accessible, it changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it? From feeling like just a number or a seat filler to being, well, a person. We saw quotes like that directly in the material. Treat you like a person, not a seat filler.
Yeah, and another one I noticed was about the tech being helpful, not annoying. That's a
Yeah.
big distinction. And just that constant theme of knowing exactly what I'm getting paid every trip, no games.
Yeah.
It really paints a picture of what's possible, when a company actually focuses on the driver experience.
Okay, but then you look at the wider market and it shows just how hard it is to create that kind of stability. While GP Transco is maybe building this positive bubble, the freight market itself, whoa, it's swinging wildly. You shared that piece, Cargo Rush Before the Crash. That really lays out the current situation.
It does. That article explains how importers are basically rushing goods right now, electronics, appliances, that kind of thing. They're trying to beat potential new tariffs on stuff from China. So that rush is causing huge volume at the ports. It's pushing up freight demand. And yes, spot rates are climbing for now.
Which, sounds good on the surface. More freight, better rates. Who wouldn't want that? But the article has this really crucial warning, calls it a potential freight sugar rush.
Exactly. It feels good short term, but it's not driven by people buying more stuff. It's defensive. Companies stockpiling. And those warehouses, they're filling up fast. So once that tariff deadline passes, or just when the warehouses are full, that demand could just drop off a cliff.
Plus, yeah, let's not forget operating costs. Fuel, insurance, parts, they're still sky high, right? So even with higher spot rates, those costs are eating away at any gains for drivers or smaller carriers. The analysis in that piece predicts a potential slowdown, maybe Q3, Q4, suggesting this surge could be followed by a pretty significant dip. And that would likely hit owner-operators, smaller fleets the hardest.
What's really stark when you put these two stories side by side is the contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got a company like GP Transco showing it is possible internally to build a culture aiming for predictability, respect, some stability, but then the external market, driven by things like global trade policy, tariffs, it just throws these huge, unpredictable waves at you. Both things are hitting your daily life, right? Your pay, your miles, your stress levels, just from totally different directions.
So true. The market, the company culture, huge factors right there on the ground. But then there are these bigger forces, things way bigger than any one company shaping your world, too. Let's look at government infrastructure. That DOT, Great American Road Trip Expo, is an interesting one.
Yeah, the material you shared mentions DOT Secretary Sean P. Duffy is leading this thing, events across the country. The stated goal is promoting infrastructure upgrades, highlighting transportation innovation.
Okay, but why should you, when you're just trying to make your delivery window, care about some DOT Expo? Well, because, as one source rightly points out, the infrastructure is your office. It's where you work. Better roads mean less wear and tear, maybe fewer breakdowns, smoother rides, hopefully. And federal policy, it touches everything. Diesel prices, HOS rules, the desperate need for more safe parking, even way station stuff.
One point in the material that seemed, well, potentially positive is that the DOT says it wants public input through these events. So it could be a chance, maybe a long shot, but a chance for drivers to actually voice concerns, like about the parking crisis, get it heard.
The Expo sources also hinted at other stuff, right? Like previews of autonomous tech, electric vehicles, public transit ideas, green freight corridors, kind of gives you a peek at the long-term vision they have, which, will eventually trickle down and impact trucking.
And speaking of government rules hitting your daily reality, let's talk about something that sounds maybe dry, the new DOT pipeline rules.
Yeah, you hear pipelines, you might think, what's that got to do with me? But hold on. Fuel moves through those pipelines, so changes there. They'd absolutely affect supply, pump prices, and maybe even your route sometimes.
And the changes outlined in the material are pretty significant. We're talking more frequent inspections, stricter inspections, mandates for smarter leak detection, they even mentioned sensors, drones, better emergency response plans, so more coordination with hazmat teams. They're also regulating smaller pipelines now, ones that maybe weren't covered before, and tougher penalties for messing up.
Okay, so how does that trickle down to you in the cab? What's the impact? Well, one piece broke it down. If you haul fuel, stricter rules, potential upgrades. That could mean delays, maybe reroutes. For hazmat drivers, new protocols might mean more training, maybe more paperwork. Ugh.
And really for any trucker, all these upgrades and inspections could just mean more construction zones, more detours around pipeline roads. On the flip side, though, the source did point out a potential upside. These projects create work, right? So maybe new freight opportunities, hauling materials, equipment needed for all these upgrades.
So when you link these two government things, the public expo and the behind-the-scenes pipeline rules, you see the pattern. Decisions made miles away. In offices, they constantly reshape your work environment out on the road. They create challenges, delays, rules, construction, but maybe also some opportunities, like giving input or finding new kinds of freight.
Okay, let's shift gears now to a topic that gets a lot of talk and maybe some anxiety out on the road. Autonomous technology. Robots on the road, as some people put it.
Definitely a hot one. Lots of different opinions in the trucking community for sure. You sent over info on a couple of specific examples, Gatik working with Walmart and Embark trucks.
That Gatik and Walmart pilot is interesting because it's happening now. Moving actual freight. The source says they're using driverless box trucks. But, and this is important, they're not the big Class 8 rigs. They're medium-duty trucks. And they're only on these very specific short middle-mile routes, like 7 to 10 miles long. In Bentonville, Arkansas, it's level 4 autonomy, meaning they can operate driverlessly, but only in that defined area, under specific conditions. Very controlled.
And Walmart's reason for doing this, the material says it's pretty straightforward. Saving on labor for those repetitive routes, getting shelves stocked faster, using bots for the dull stuff. Plus, yeah, lower risk trying it out on fixed paths compared to, say, cross-country OTR.
Then you've got Embark trucks. They tested something much closer to long haul. The source mentions a test hauling appliances autonomously from El Paso, Texas, all the way to Palm Springs, California, mostly on I-10.
But, and here's the crucial detail again, right? Shows where the tech really is. Human safety drivers were still in the truck on the highway part. And human drivers, actual teams, handled the tricky first and last mile stuff. Getting into cities, navigating docks. It really highlights that the biggest challenge for autonomous right now isn't necessarily the long open highway. It's the city chaos, the unpredictable pickups, the difficult delivery spots.
Which leads right to the big question everyone asks, is this a threat to drivers' jobs? The sources, you said, they acknowledge that concern, absolutely. But they also paint a more nuanced picture. Gatik, for example, their focus right now isn't replacing long-haul OTR drivers. Not yet, anyway. And Embark, yeah, they tested OTR, but getting that to full mainstream use, huge hurdles remain. Think regulations, insurance nightmares, weather, crazy traffic jams that need human judgment. Just perfecting the tech for every possible situation. It's a long way off.
What really stood out to me looking across these sources is that the automation story isn't just about replacement. It's also about creating new kinds of jobs, jobs related to the tech itself.
Absolutely. The material details several possibilities. You'll need people managing the autonomous systems. People for loading, unloading bots aren't doing that yet. Remote operators may be monitoring fleets from a control center. Maintenance techs who specialize in these complex systems. And crucially, still need traditional city drivers for that last mile, first mile, where the bots struggle.
Yeah, the point emphasized seems to be that CDL holders who are willing to adapt, maybe get comfortable with some tech, they could be in really high demand for these new hybrid roles.
hmm
It's maybe not the end of driving, but a shift in what driving looks like, at least for some parts of the industry.
And you see all the different reactions in the industry material too, don't you?
Yeah.
There's that understandable veteran skepticism, the ain't no robot going to chain up tires in a blizzard view.
Oh,
Then there's the more like, okay, this is coming. Maybe we better figure out how to work with it perspective. And of course, the companies, the shippers, just focus purely on efficiency and cost savings.
so connecting these examples, Gatik showing it can work locally in a limited way, and Embark showing the OTR test but with human help still needed. It paints a pretty clear picture, doesn't it? Technology is coming, it will change how trucking is done, makes a strong case for drivers needing to be adaptable, maybe learn some new skills if they want to stay ahead or pivot into those new roles.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together now. We've looked at market volatility, contrasting company cultures. We've seen how government rules impact infrastructure, fuel. We've explored autonomous tech. What does this whole picture, all these moving parts, actually mean for you?
Well, it means the landscape you're driving through is constantly being reshaped by these powerful external forces. And we get it. The challenges are real. The unpredictability, rising costs, just the uncertainty about the future, jobs, rules. And really, throughout this deep dive, our aim was just to provide info to help you feel hopefully a bit more respected, more supported, just by understanding what's going on.
And despite all those external forces, the core message that really comes through when you analyze this material, and it's echoed strongly by places like Life as a Trucker, Retire from Trucking Way, it's the critical importance of focusing on what you can control. And that really starts with taking ownership of your time, not just your driving time for the shipper, but your off-duty time for yourself.
Yeah, and that connects right back to the advice we saw for handling market swings. If you're in a good spot now, maybe catching some of that sugar rush, the advice was practical. Bank some extra cash, look for steadier contract freight if you can. Trim your budget where possible.
But the sources push that idea of managing off-duty time even further. They really highlight this strategy, using your non-driving time intentionally to build extra income streams. The specific idea mentioned is recurring online income, building something that acts like a shield, protection against those freight rate dips or company instability.
That framing is really powerful, isn't it? Your off-duty time isn't just rest, it's a resource you can actually use. And they specifically mention learning new skills, using modern AI tools even, as a practical way to build those online income streams.
Yeah, and this alternative income idea, like you see explored over at retirefromtrucking.com, it isn't just some get-rich-quick scheme. It's presented more as a way for truckers to gain more independence, maybe retire when you want to on your terms, or just create a safety net, right? Soften the blow if the industry shifts hard. It ties back to the autonomous tech thing, too. Diversifying your skills, whether it's tech skills or building an online business, it just makes you more adaptable, period, more resilient in this changing world.
So wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Feels like quite the road trip. We went from seeing bright spots in company culture to feeling the market jitters, detoured through government actions on roads and fuel, and even took a look over the horizon at autonomous tech.
And the clear message cutting through all of it. The trucking world is definitely changing, sometimes in ways that feel challenging, no doubt. But being informed, understanding these forces, and crucially, being proactive, managing your own time, developing your skills, building your own future, those are the most powerful tools you actually have in your toolbox.
So the final thought to leave you with is this. With so much changing around you out there on the road, what steps will you take in your off-duty time to build the future you want?
And if you're feeling like, okay, I want to dig deeper, explore some of these ideas, maybe take some action, the sources we looked at point to some really valuable places to start.
Yeah, definitely check out lifeisatrucker.com. You'll find real-world trucking tips, gear reviews, lots of advice on leveling up your career while you're actually out there.
And also be sure to look at retirefromtrucking.com. They've got a free guide specifically for truckers on prepping for retirement. And they offer training on using those AI tools we mentioned to build online income streams, practical steps you can actually take right now to maybe gain a little more control, a little more security,